Hey everyone, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with a lovely video, and today is an extremely appropriate day for me to record and upload this video because today is February 13th, 2020. We're on the tail end of the day. 50 years ago exactly, Ozzy's career was truly launched because 50 years ago today, Black Sabbath's self-titled debut was released, right? And here we are 50 years later, and I'm reviewing what's more than likely to be Ozzy's final recording. So, full circle, I guess. So, anyway, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into it and start talking about this album. The album starts off with Straight to Hell. It's an awesome mid-paced rocker with a lot of layers, and it's a great way to start the album off. Followed up by that, we have All My Life, which is a good semi-introspective Ozzy song, which has really been a staple of his career at this point. Next up, we have Goodbye, which is a great, slow, moody song in the beginning, and then it alternates between a semi-ballad and a heavier part, and then it really kicks into high gear about halfway through the song and becomes basically a balls-out rocker. Next track after that is Ordinary Man, which is, of course, the title track in the Elton John collab track, which you probably have already heard. But if not, it, of course, starts out as a piano ballad, and of course has a lot of strings and choir, as well as some good guitar work. It's a very good song overall. Following that up, we have Under the Graveyard, which again, you probably have already heard this one as well because it was the first song released from the album. And this one has a rather eerie sounding mid-paced number. And it is a semi-ballad with a fair amount of heaviness intermixed. Overall, it's another really good song. After that, we have Eat Me, which is a really rollicking, funky song that's a lot of fun to listen to. After that, we have Today Is the End. It's an okay song that's a mid-paced, semi-Sabbathy type of tune. And really, it's kind of the first weak one on the album. So we're pretty far in, and we're finally getting something that's not the greatest. After that, we have Scary Little Green Men. The intro of that song actually reminds me a bit of Old L.A. Tonight from Osmosis, but then you get a rather upbeat bit, and then the rest of the song alternates between ballady and upbeat parts, with some eeriness worked in, of course. The song works out very well overall, and then after that we have Holy For Tonight, and in my opinion, this should be the final song on the album, but alas, we have some stuff with Post Malone after this. This song is a very introspective, yearning ballad, and he sings about not being remembered and his last goodbye. It's a fairly good song and would work well as an album closer. Now we have to talk about the two songs included on here that feature Post Malone. The first one is called It's a Raid. It's the new one featuring Post Malone. It's a wall of noise with, frankly, awful production. I couldn't even make out the individual instruments in the mix, and it feels out of place on the album. Post is fine in the song. He doesn't really add or take away from it in any way. And then, of course, if the final track is Take What You Want, and yes, this has already been released, but it's included on the album. Anyway, this is obviously the first Post Malone collaboration from several months back. You probably already have an opinion on this. I, of course, think Ozzy sounds fine with his vocals on this, but I don't like the Post Malone instrumentation or his vocals that much. I know this one is going to be very divisive. Some will love it and some will hate it. Put me in the dislike this overall camp. In fact, this song to me illustrates what passes for mainstream rock. Basically, what's wrong with what passes for mainstream rock nowadays, but that is a whole other video. Basically, now we're going to kind of get to the overall on this. To me, the biggest flaw on this album is, of course, the modern brick-walled production, but that's sadly par for the course on albums nowadays, so I'm not deducting from the score for it, but certainly not getting any points added for production either. On some songs, you can hear Ozzy's age more than in other songs, and I want to talk about that because really in any other recording that Ozzy ever did, even on Black Sabbath's 13, Ozzy sounded ageless, right? At least in the studio. He didn't sound like a really old man. But on this one, you can definitely hear Ozzy's age in these songs. And of course, in some songs, it's more than in others. And the last time I heard age in a recording like this in someone's voice is with Johnny Cash's final recordings. And we all know what happened to Johnny not too long after those recordings. Death in the end seemed to be very common themes on this album, which is not really surprising given Ozzy's current status. So, basically, I'm just going to briefly say that Ozzy, we all love you. Um, you know, just feel free to retire. Personally, I'd rather have a world with Ozzy in it and this be his swan song and have him alive and healthy and around rather than him touring his butt off and maybe accelerating his decline and him leaving this world maybe a little bit sooner than he has to. That's just me. Feel free to disagree if you want to. Now I'm going to talk about kind of my overall score on this. Now, if I leave out the Post Malone songs, overall I would give this album a 75. I think it's mostly solid, but it does fall a bit short of legendary status. If I have to include the Post Malone songs, then it drags the album down to a score of 60. As I feel those songs really detract from the album. They feel out of place, and they sound like shit to my ears anyway. So, yeah. What can I really say about this? Where it fits into Ozzy's career, of course, this is likely to be his last album, and it's a relatively respectable end to his career. Unfortunately, is marred by those Post Malone songs. I don't know what they were thinking. My assumption is Ozzy's people told him it would probably be a good idea to put those on the album, and he probably listened to him for whatever reason. I'm sure Sharon had a hand in it. Who the hell knows? But anyway, I don't want to dog on it too much. Yeah, I think it's a fine way to end the career, and he put in 50 years for us. I think that's plenty of time. He's produced tons of great material, and there's a lot of really good material on this album. So, if you are a big Ozzy fan, I'd say it's worth getting just to, basically, as a cap to his career, cornerstone or whatever. So, anyway, that's pretty much it. If you're new to this channel, which you may very well be, because I know these types of videos tend to go on a lot of people who don't normally watch my videos, feel free to take a look around the channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe. It obviously helps me out tremendously because I am a small channel. If not, whatever. And of course, thumb up if you like it. If you think I suck, thumb me down. Whatever. That's pretty much it. As always, to everyone, live long and prosper. Keep on rocking.